This month, our discussion is talking about purposeful practice, what it means, how to maximize your training sessions, and try to really change the way you're training to hopefully help you in your progression towards the winter and into the spring season. So, Coach, this has been a topic around the ranch for us as a staff over the last few months. As I'll open it up to you and tell me about how you came across this idea and what you've seen so far and how it's helped our guys.
Yeah, the whole idea about practice, we've known this. I mean, I'm sure your parents told you, or your youth coaches told you things like you practice like, or you play like you practice. Practice makes perfect. And then a little later in your career, people said, practice makes permanent. And they scare you with the practice thing. So the idea of practice has been evolving ever since there was practice. Well, what actually started to happen is people like Anders Ericsson have started studying the way, and Daniel Coyle and some other performance experts started to take little slivers of the population where elite performers were coming from. Excuse me. And they were, sometimes it's music, sometimes it's math, sometimes it's athletics. So they start to study, why do these people do better than their peers? What's happening in these little hotbeds of talent that's not happening somewhere else? And the answer to that is they practice differently, right? And so the question then is, okay, so they practice differently. What does that mean? How is that? Well, Anders Ericsson, who is a doctor at Florida State, came up with two terms. He called it deep purposeful practice and deliberate practice. And they're similar, but deliberate practice is even another level deeper than purposeful practice. And I'll explain that really quickly in a little bit. But basically what we want to do is, on your practice, as you know, most of us just we do the reps, thinking that the reps are going to change us.
Right.
And we call it, and you've called it, and we've called it, just going through the motions. And it would be the equivalent of, I want to be a good piano player, so my mom and dad buy me this piano for Christmas, and every morning I get up at 6 in the morning, because I read somewhere that people are really motivated to get up at 6. Yeah. And I go down to the parlor, and I pound on keys for an hour until I'm sweating, and I'm pounding on keys. Did I become a better piano player? No. What I got better at is pounding on the keys. And the real truth of the matter is that even my success at pounding on the keys, however limited that is also going to have a limit very soon if I don't challenge myself beyond my present capability of pounding on the keys. So it's twofold. One, if I don't really have a specific purpose for what I'm doing, I may not carry over a transfer. And the second thing is that even if I do get it, how long does that transfer last? And even at the ranch, I thought we were pretty good at transferring, but then almost everything tends to have a stop, or where you get to homeostasis, where you don't grow anymore. So even that practice a certain level of practice will only take you so far before you have to step back and redo it. And that's one of the reasons we created the Dura Throw program, because that allows us to do that very thing.
Right, and so I guess let's talk about some of the ways that, because we're basically discussing here how to get over, you just mentioned it, how to get over that kind of that plateau, because it's definitely inevitable.
Right.
We'll have a fresh mind, a fresh athlete come in, and he'll learn about his disconnections. They might find 5 miles an hour in their first
uncommon
60 days. And then all of a sudden it plateaus, and it's a lot of times, I'll get the email, or we'll get the email that says, hey, why isn't this working anymore? And it's not that it's not working anymore. It's just that now they need something different.
Yep.
And so it's a really good in the book. In the book Peak that you had all this read.
Anders Ericsson, right?
Ericsson wrote, and you had all this read, and I know, has it become your favorite?
It is. It's the most powerful teaching book I've ever read.
Yeah. And so in that, there's so many different layers, and he hits it from a few different angles. But let's talk about some of those ways, how to make your baseball training if you're coming into those plateaus or you've experienced a plateau. How do we change it, and how do we practice differently to help our throwing?
Well, let me stop right there. You said something really key, and I want you to kind of go on that a little bit. The mistake that most people make is they want to try harder, and you just said it. You don't maybe need to try harder most of the time. You need to try differently. Mm-hmm. So that's the first thing you've got to realize, is that so many people just want to do more of what they're already doing, right? So if I'm getting, and you hear us say at the ranch all the time in a lot of different ways, more sometimes is just more. It's not better, right? So, and we use the analogy of medicine all the time because dosage is the right thing. So if we have, and I'm going to use that analogy to go on our talk today. Let's say that I have an ailment and it requires 2 milligrams of something. So the first thing is 2 milligrams does help it. So therefore, does 4 make it better? Does 8 milligrams? Why don't we make it 16 milligrams? Why don't we make it 32 milligrams? There's a point where more is not more. I mean, more is just more, it's not better. Right? Matter of fact, it may start to take us in a different perspective. Just like if you and I have a headache, 2 aspirin probably will do the job. We don't want to take 36 aspirin, we'll be in the hospital. The second thing is, okay, let's say that 2 milligrams may indeed help that ailment, but eventually that 2 milligrams will not affect that. You need a different medicine altogether, and you need to change. And just keep taking that medicine all the time. See, there's the analogy I'm doing. That's the same thing with your physical training. You need to be creating variety and changing the stimulus.
Sure. For example, so I guess what I want everyone to kind of be asking themselves as we talk about this is this me? And I know that for the guys I talk to online, the guys that I talk to on the phone, I think there's a majority of them out there that this is you, and they may have, let's say that they're in their off season, and let's say they're doing a velocity enhancement program, but their weeks are based on getting the exact number of throws. Hey, I'm going to hit these 4 drills. Then I'm going to maybe do a small blend at the end, but literally every day is very close to that, right? Your base 4 or 5 drills, then we do some blending. Okay, today I kind of try to throw it a little harder than I usually do. Tomorrow I wake up and I do the exact same thing over and over again. And even if you put 1 velocity push, we pull the radar gun out, even if you put 1 of those in per week, there comes a certain point in time when that doesn't do enough.
It's not enough stimulus.
It's not enough change. It's not enough. How uncomfortable are you really during that entire week? When you get used to the gun, guys are comfortable on the gun after 3 or 4 times. So then, I guess talk about that and how you can go through the motions and you may get a few miles an hour early and then it's gone. And so maybe it's not a whole revamp. You can keep 2 of those days. Maybe it's not an overhaul. Now I'm never doing connection work, because you certainly need it, but you need a good mix of other things too. And what have you seen most, like as far as guys changing that? What have you seen guys go to? What are some suggestions?
Well, the first thing is, and I want everybody to, especially I'm talking to the mom and dads that are hopefully listening to this, is that we have what I call in this country, we have in our society, we have what I call a minimum daily requirement mentality. You and I, when you were growing up, did your mom give you a Flintstones or one of those vitamins, a daily one a day? Because here's what they thought. Well, here's what you need, and if you just take that, you're going to be okay. Well, then you realize, no, that's probably more vitamin A than I need. I'm all good, but I need more vitamin B12, D. I'm not even getting right. So this minimum, this idea that I can give you one thing and it takes care of all the minimum daily requirements for everybody is absurd. We know it's absurd, but we're so steeped in it that we never think of it differently than that. The second thing is, that we get really comfortable in routine. And we think that we'd hoped that we do this drills and we come here and we learn our disconnection, our pain minimizes. This is what happens most of the time. Our pain minimizes. We start doing things differently. We start to move a little bit more athletically. We start to move better. Our velo creeps up. And let's say we gain 5 miles an hour in 10 months. And we go, well, look at that. If I just replicate that every 10 months and I do the math, 95 by the time I'm right. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is that the reason you had your jump is because that fit exactly what you needed. Once your body has modified itself in this way, you're going to need another stimulus. You're going to need something else that's going to create another adaptation, another change. And that's what weightlifting is all about. You lift a bar to 225. Let's say I'm doing a bench. I do 225. Ollie, if I never put 2 pennies on that, I'm gonna get to a level where 225 is all I can lift, right? And then so I need to have a different stimulus, and sometimes that is minor, and I think everybody hopes it's minor, but sometimes it is minor. I think most of the time we just got to build it in the cake or bake it in the cake. I said that right that time. Bake it in the cake, so to speak, that we know that every a little bit while that we go, we need to change it up. We need to do another assessment, find out what's coming in, what's coming out, what needs to change, and what is our constraint right in front of us, and hit that. And we need to be an ever adapting, evolving, growing mechanism, because it is. And I think that's what really helps, and that's what the Durthrow truly is designed to do, is that every month you step back and have a look-see and see what you need. Mm-hmm. And most people just, I'm sure there's some people that you've told, because I've read it, hey, look, keep it up, let's go. That looks like it's working for you. Mm-hmm. And sometimes that indeed is the correct answer. Mm-hmm. Let it roll, right? If I'm on an 8-game winning streak and I'm wearing purple socks, let's put on purple socks, baby. Mm-hmm. Let's not overthink this. Let's just let it roll. Mm-hmm. But there's going to come a point of time when I lose 3 in a row in the purple socks, we need to now rethink what we're doing. It's natural, and we just should know that is just part of the discovery process, mm-hmm. and we should just have it in there as we go. That's what Durthrow can help you do, because a lot of times you throw up your hands, you go, I don't know what to do. Well, mm-hmm. you do.
I think that's really good, and I think most everyone in there, there's, like you mentioned, there's some guys that'll come in and it's, I'll see their video and it's, okay, this looks really good. Let's maybe change your program a little bit to keep it fresh, but overall, you're looking good as far as your movement pattern is concerned. Now, one thing that we can also throw into this conversation here is changing your movement pattern. And how do you change your movement pattern? How is it different? Because it's one thing to make some small changes, and then you see then kind of a plateau, not only in your performance, maybe it's your velocity, but you'll see a plateau where, man, I can't get this lead leg connected more than a 6. I just can't. I can't do it. Very frustrated. We had that talk last month about frustration, but different ideas in changing the movement pattern. So the question that I always get on the phone and over the email is, well, what drill do you feel like what drill can help me with this? And it may not be that you're doing the wrong drills. It may be that you're approaching the drills incorrectly.
Yeah, you have the wrong focus. See, what I would tell everybody, if this is kind of, and I use this analogy, I don't know if you've ever heard me use this analogy, but if you haven't, you will hear me say it in the future, and you'll laugh because you're going, now I know where I heard that. People ask me that, well, I just can't seem to whatever. I said, okay, so if you walked on the side of your feet like this, and you just walked, on the side of your feet like this all the time. Outside of your feet, mm-hmm. right? And I said, and they go, are there any drills that would help me walk on the inside of your feet? Well, you have to ask yourself, there can be some exercise, there can be some activities that I can focus on to try to change my positioning. But that's going to require one thing beyond all else, and that is that we're going to have to pay attention and bring awareness to that area. You just can't do the drill and now expect somehow that's going to take over. The stimulus has got to be such, and the focus has got to be such that you're, so when people say, my front leg is opening up, I say, so is your front leg in charge?
Right.
And they're looking at me kind of funny, and I'll go, it's not. Your body, matter of fact, I know it's not in charge, because whenever you walk this way and you got to walk that way, your back hip turns your front hip. Your front hip doesn't go, well, let's go this way, and then your back hip goes, I guess you're right. It never happens that way, ever. But when we pitch, we have it happen that way. That is a movement pattern. Patterns can be changed, and it's not natural. That behavior is trained. It's learned. And so if that's a movement pattern, we can now create a different pattern. And the good news is the patterns that we're looking for, like a packed humerus, inside of 90, glute load, dominated by the back leg, internally rotated in the front leg, those are completely natural in universe, because Nolan Ryan there was no one taught him that. Greg Maddox, no one told him that. Roger Clemens, no one told. They figured out, actually they were more true to innate the way they moved, and didn't allow other people get them outside. That's, you and I just had that client that you showed me today that was fantastic, and I said, tell them please, don't listen to anybody, put earplugs in and keep moving like that, because he was connected, he was athletic, he was dynamic, and he is figuring it out himself. There's no way that's not a natural activity, but we can get sidetracked by all the best of intentions. So the first thing, to answer your question again, Ollie, to make sure, because I went a little bit long on this, you've got to focus. If you're working on your front leg, you've got to make sure that you build that front leg in, that it doesn't open up, right? You just can't do the drill and hope it behaves.
Yeah.
Soft tissue does not have free will. My front leg, I'm not trying to walk towards Walmart and end up in Target, right? My body, this leg doesn't go, no, I'm going to Target, and this one goes, I'm going to Walmart, and it won't do it that way, right? It just doesn't work. So you got to focus on the awareness of that piece.
Absolutely. And so, maybe taking a collection or a part of your day, and really focusing on each little piece, and try to get 1% better, right? I mean, the front leg is one of the, continuing on that example, the front leg is one of those things where if each day your goal is, can I keep this connected just a split second longer than I did the day before? The next day, a little split second longer. Let's say it's like a forearm play or a timing thing in your upper body. Can I delay my arm action a little bit to where I land in sync or in synergy? Those little things. Don't try to get it all done, because I think that's where a lot of the frustration comes with the guys in Durothrow, is if they're trying to change something and they want to see these marginal gains in one day or 1 week.
Right.
And we've seen guys, Robert Duggar, for example, one of our minor league guys in the Mariner organization, he worked the entire offseason on keeping the front leg more connected, and he got 20 to 30% better. It's not as best it could ever be, but it's way better than it was, and he understood that just little bits each and every single day turn into little bits each and every single week, every month. And sometimes it works like that, especially after you make those initial gains and you're trying to continue.
Right. I have some other advice to give, because the people like Bosch and Bernstein would say to us, don't be so conscious on, if you're trying to improve your front foot, you may cause problems by being overly conscious and lose athleticism. What I would say is, try to build in yourself that you feed the mistake. And what we call feed the mistake is that we have other things trying to help us disconnect in the way that we're disconnecting. So our body has to counteract that. Let me give you an example. Where I really learned feed the mistake is from a guy by the name of Gray Cook. And Gray Cook is the really the father of the modern day FMS, functional movement screen. And he's a physical therapist and a brilliant one. And he would take a look at, for example, squat technique, where the knees would bow out. I'm sorry, the knees would bow in, right? You do a squat and the knees would bow in, right? And so it was really hard to help anybody with that. So what he did is he put a rubber band around their legs that was literally trying to push them in. So the body has to actively push them out. So he was actually feeding the mistake, and the body had to self-correct. And so that's what you're looking for. That's the reason we have so many drills, like the connection ball. The body, to do it right, has to self-correct. And that's the reason we like the double crow hop. That's the reason we like quick picks. Everything we have is designed to feed the mistake, or to bring awareness to the mistake, or to expose the mistake. And those are the things. And unfortunately, if you think about it, what is most baseball throwing? It's flat ground, 120 feet or less, playing catch all the time, play catch, and then pitching on a mound at 60 feet 6 inches. The reason long toss is good is that it pushes us to the edges of our ability. The reason weighted ball, like we do it with velocity enhancement, is it pushes to the edge of your ability. The reason you and I like differential learning so much is it pushes us on the edge. The reason we like some of our drills that are going to be in the toolbox is double crow hop, turn and burn, whatever. It pushes us towards the edge of our capabilities rather than the sterile 60, 90, 120 feet flat ground, sub-max throws that really can build a very poor movement pattern.
Right. So I guess, when you look at those changes, that's a really good one. The feed the mistake, I think that goes in line with the purposeful practice, changing the way you're doing it.
And change the feel would be
the feel and creating feel in other ways. I mean,
that's right.
You can create feel with the connection ball. That was the first idea, right? To feel where you are at certain points in the delivery, and then after you use that and it changes, you blend it out and things like that. But create feel. For instance, a glove side issue. I know I've been doing it, and I've been for some of the guys who are here working on their glove side. Guy, his name starts with Rob and ends with Maislin. Glove side, right? He's just obsessed with the glove side. He's trying not to get it so tight, and putting a 2-pound ball in your hand and trying to keep some space there and some separation. You've thrown with your glove on forever, and your body disregards that. You put a 2-pound ball in there, and it now understands where that glove side is. So creating feel in other ways, that sort of thing. The feed the mistake feel. Reduce time, so being faster. And then doing drills, take an audit. Go online, look at our drills and go, which of these drills have I not done enough of lately? And it may not be because it's not in your program or whatever. It may just be because, it's more dynamic. You don't always have to, radar a turn and burn. The turn and burn can be done in your connection day. Same thing with a running step behind.
And the other one is change the goal, right?
Yeah.
So if you're struggling with a command, you've got to change your goal. You've got to change the purpose of what you're doing. So often they don't change the purpose, they don't change the timing, they don't change the stimulus, and they don't feed the mistake. And so it is milk toast.
Yep.
Your activity is milk toast. And I don't care. You do the same thing over and over again. There's very little reason for the body to adjust or adapt. And we are trying to create a new, better movement pattern. So we have to create something new. It's not enough to just reinforce an old pattern. That's never the thing that really bothers me is people want something new. That's the reason they come here. They want to improve on things, but then they keep doing the same thing over and over again, this time expecting a different result. And you have to use one of those 4 ways. You either feed the mistake, you take away time, you change the goal. What was the 4th one?
Create feel.
So it's one of those that, and so you think about it, that's exactly what all those things that we have, the sock, the kettlebell, or the bell club, the wrist weights, the weighted ball, all that is just exactly to do that. It's no simpler than that, and it's no more complex than that. It's just, and we found it very, very, I mean, you and I were just off camera just talking about someone that was having trouble closing the gap between their turn and burn and their regular pitch. And it is hard for me to even think of, I've been doing this for 20 years, more than a handful of people that were not able to get that inside of 8 miles an hour between their turn and burn and their pitch. Mm-hmm. So if you just stick with that, you know,
and the only option is to fix it, right? I mean, when we were talking, you said your father had a saying when he told you to go outside until you figure it out.
Yeah, go outside and stay out there. Don't even come inside till you figure it out, right?
And you used to say it a lot. And when I was in the summer program, you said, you know, your choices are do it or die trying, right? I mean, it's
right.
Figure out how to do it, you know. And you believe that if that's the mindset, the only option, failure is not an option. The only option is to create a better movement pattern, to create more velocity, to bring that gap closer together. You're going to figure it out right at that point. It's kind of up to you.
Yeah, well, we don't know. We don't ever know when you're going to figure it out. And let's just take a Robert Duggar, for example. You made a great point. Or a Colin Poche. Both of them top prospects, one of the top prospects in both their organizations, Diamondbacks and Mariners. When they first came, it was kind of like Robert Duggar gained it quickly, really got it. And then for a long time kind of plateaued and then made another jump. Colin Poche did it almost the exact opposite. Went for a long time and then all of a sudden went, whoo. I don't know when you're going to get it. I don't. It depends on your why. It depends on, you know, your psyche. It depends on the volume. It depends on how flawed your movement pattern is. But if you just stay on a path, the body will organize itself to get to the goal that you're asking it to get to. You just got to be real specific. If I said to you, I want to make some money this year, Ollie, you're going to have to make some money this year or you're going to be fired, right? You'd go, how much? Mm-hmm. And I go, you just got to make some money. And you wouldn't let me go with that because that'd be too, right? You got to know. So if I said $1 million, you might go, wow, but at least now you know. Mm-hmm. So not knowing the goal is where most people, well, I'm just here, I made some money, coach. And I go, sorry, Ollie, that's not enough. You're fired. Mm-hmm. You're like, but you said make some money. Mm-hmm. And I did. And I said, well, but Ollie, it's 13 cents, right? Yeah. And so then you're thinking you're betrayed because you made some money. I'm thinking I'm betrayed because that's not what I meant. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to be more clear on what your goal is. And I think a lot of guys make that mistake when they say, oh, it's really not working for me. Your goal is too bland. It's too vanilla. You need to have a very specific short-term, intermediate, and long-term goal that you can hit. And then just be all in on that. And work till you get it. And a lot of times, as soon as that doesn't occur, we revert back to throw up my hands. Here, teacher, I don't understand the question, right? Well, in real life, you don't have somebody go, oh, I can help you with that. Right. No, you got to figure it out.
Yeah, there comes a point in time where you have to have autonomy in your own program.
Yeah, you do.
Creation. You've got to
self-reliant.
Yes, self-reliance, and so that's why we try to stay away from that cookie cutter one size fits all because that actually creates the opposite mindset.
It absolutely does.
It creates the opposite mindset to where, hey, just 12 throws of this drill, 4 days a week, and you got it. If you just work real hard and don't miss a day.
Oh, you threw with the green ball? No. I said throw with the blue ball.
Right.
Seriously? Right.
Yeah. So as you go, you'll understand. You'll develop more understanding of your own arm, yourself, what you can handle more of, how to change the goal, how to change the stimulus, how to create feel. There's thousands of different ways to do those. Feed the mistake. Just train differently. Don't let yourself go into, going through the motions every single day. Make sure that there's an uncomfortable part of each of your practices or your sessions. Even if it's cold, cold outside, and if you can handle it and get out and let it fly a little bit this winter, do it. You
figure out a way.
Figure out a way. You get a good warm up. You can find a way.
And I would say this as we're closing this down, Ollie. I would say this. If there's any advice that, I've been fortunate to deal with, to train pitchers like Eric Johnson and Trevor Bauer and Justin Verlander and Scotty Kazmir and Shin-Ming Wong, let alone all the hundreds and literally thousands that have come through here. I would say this is an absolute guarantee, whether that's Ollie Katie at 22 years old, that no matter how good you are right now, and now no matter how hard you train and matter how well this is going for you, there's going to come a time when what you're doing is not quite good enough. And here's why. Because as you get better, you keep ascending and you get higher and higher and higher in the performance level. And pretty soon, one day you're going to wake up and it's Mike Trout in the batter's box. Mm-hmm. And therefore, good is not good enough anymore. The good that you were back then is not good here, mm-hmm. right? It's what we all dream about. It's about playing. I mean, you watch that World Series between the Astros and the Dodgers, and I mean, you watch Altuve just struggle at the plate sometimes. That's the best hitter in baseball right now, and getting carved up. And I mean, what with the Bellinger? How many would he get? One hit in right?
Something like that.
How good is he? He's phenomenal.
Rookie of the year, yeah.
But good at that time in that stretch was not good enough, mm-hmm. right? And so he's going to have to make a choice. That's what makes Kershaw so amazing to me, is that every year he's been in the league, his ERA has went down. Mm-hmm. So good, and then he's better, and then he's better, and then he's better. There are so many guys that they're good, and then that's it, mm-hmm. right? They'll stay right there, and then pretty soon, it's not like they're terrible, but they never. And if everybody that's listening here has aspirations to go from the select to the high school to junior college or college to professional baseball to the major league, every level you go up, it's a whole nother folding of talent, and you're going to run into that wall that you're not quite good enough, and then you have to adapt again, and then hit it, and then you have to adapt. And guys like Tom Brady, they've figured that out. You think about all the quarterbacks that have went in the draft since him. Have there been better arms, mm-hmm. better skill sets? Of course. But what's Brady really good at? And actually for Peyton Manning, right? Peyton Manning is the other end of the spectrum, right? He was the poster boy at the beginning, and Brady is the poster boy at the end. Brady was a 6th-round draft choice. But both of them, you would have to agree with me, and in guys like John Elway and some other guys, they just kept improving where other people who were good just don't keep doing that. And the way you get to a Tom Brady, the way you get to a Harden in basketball now, the way you get to a Clayton Kershaw or Joey Votto, is to always re-engineer, reinvent yourself at a slightly higher level, and you have to do that on purpose. Mm-hmm. And if you're not all in on that, and if you're asking for just the form that will guarantee it, you've lost sight of the way this is actually going to go. You're going to have to be better tomorrow than you are today. And so when you sign up for it, you best know that. And so you're just constantly not trying harder. You're constantly just used to, I'm going to try differently. And I think, Ollie, that's one of the reasons you like the ranch is, mm-hmm. how much has the ranch changed since you joined us 2 years ago as the Durathrow coordinator?
Yeah, it's changed a lot. And for that exact purpose, it's, we're playing as far as a game on how to help athletes. We continue to change because what we did 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 8 years ago is not the same program. I mean, I can almost guarantee you that the program Kershaw's on right now is not the same one he had at the end of his rookie season. So yes, I mean, just from a bigger company perspective, that's one of the great things that's really helped all of us, I think, and me as an individual is just always understanding that you can be better, pushing yourself beyond the present capability. I remember when I was first hired, or actually, well, it was my first full year,
right.
My first full year, and you said, hey, Ollie, you're going to do this presentation in front of 150 people. I was like, holy,
right.
Really? Wow. Okay, and instead of milking me into it and saying, hey, you'll be ready in a couple years, we'll really, right? It was, and the idea at first was a little uncomfortable, and then that first year it was the bonus night. This year it's going to be the real deal. I mean,
You're in a big stage now.
Big stage, big topic. I mean, and now, right? And so that's really helped me. So for the ranch in general, it's been pretty incredible to be a part of and watch. And take that, use it in your throwing. Very crucial point in time now, December, January, February starting. So depending on the level and the program you're at, you'll be starting very soon. Change the stimulus. Don't hope and pray that it is all going to come together the moment you step on. Set yourself up for failure a little bit here coming into it. Set yourself up to where it's going to be really challenging, and you've got to adapt to those new stimulus that you put on it.
Don't be afraid. The bottom line here is, guys, don't be afraid to train differently. And here's what I would suggest all of you do. You guys, each and every athlete, you've heard me say this before to you. I say this to all my staff at the Texas Baseball Ranch. Don't bring me a problem unless you bring me a solution with it. And maybe you don't even have the ultimate solution. Bring me your best guess on what we can do. So I would say to all of you, go think about how you know your constraints better than anybody. If you don't, shame on you. All you got to do is know your constraints. I would tell people all the time, and when I do the video analysis, I'll say, weren't you this? And they'll have to look down. I'm like, how do I know your disconnection better than you do? Did you have an out-of-body experience, right? You're supposed to be an expert in you. If you're not an expert in you, I don't know how to help you. Mm-hmm. You're an expert. Write down or have an idea of what is right in front of you, what are your constraints, and what's some ideas that you could really do things, not only work just harder, but work smarter and harder. Work smarter and harder. And then give it to Ollie and let him bounce things off of him. But don't go, I know Ollie will be nice and everything, but if you send it to me and go, Coach, help me, I'm like, right? I got help. Yeah, why don't you help you, and I will support you. I will guide you. I will always be here, but you're the captain of the ship. If you're not the captain of your ship, you're going to have to let me know who the captain is, because I want to meet him or her, because that's who I got to talk to, and you should be the captain of your ship. That way you send to Coach Katie your ideas, you bounce them off of him, and he'll say, you know what, that may be going a little too far. Here's what I would suggest. But now you can have a good conversation. The person that just holds up their arms and goes, I don't know what to do, I'm so frustrated. You know what, that doesn't sit very well with me, because you're a long ways away from being a guy that gets it. That's not what warriors do. Warriors are saying, hey, what do you think of this? Do you think this is a good idea? You have any other ideas other than this? I would like to, but bounce that off. He's not there to save you. He is there to guide you and mentor you. And of course, I read everyone, Ollie will tell you, I read every single one of your emails, and many of you have gotten a response from me every now and then. I'll do a side note on it, but figure out how you are going to work harder and smarter in this off season, even if it's by 15 or 20%. And that will, because this is the time to push for me, because once late February hits, it's game time, it's game on, and I'm just trying to showcase what I've done in the off season.
Perfect. Well, thanks for joining us.